welcome, welcome. So Eric, to kick us off, let's talk about that amazing trailer that we just saw. Ramsey Rosso is a name that will be familiar to the comic book nerds in the room, but for those who may not have heard of him and his villainous alter ego Bloodwork, what do we need to know about him? What can
Ramsey Rosso, played by the wonderful Sendil Ramamurthy, who's that's in my hand. He is an acquaintance of the lovely Dr. Caitlin Snow. However, their old reunion goes very, very south, and when he joins Team Flash, he ends up going down the dark path to mad science and maybe becomes the most terrifying foe that Team Flash has ever faced.
Well, that's a good segue. How is he different from some of the villains that Team Flash has faced before, would you say?
The other villains played by the rules a lot of times. Reverse Flash, who I love, Tom, of course, and Zoom and Savitar, but there's a unique relationship between Dr. Ramsey and Barry himself. They're both facing something horrible as Crisis approaches, and that is going to make the relationship between our villain this season and our hero this season very, very different than what we've seen in the past. It's going to be great.
I like it. Well, how is season 6 as a whole different from the seasons that we've had before?
We're doing something really different this season. We're lucky enough to have gotten to the 6th season because of all of you, and I thank you. So, in doing so, we figured let's kick it up a notch. In the past, we've had 22 episodes with one big bad.
This year we're doing 60 episodes.
No. Maybe you are. But we're going to take those 22 episodes and we're going to have what I'm calling, because I'm a comic book guy like a lot of people here, we're going to divide it up into 2 graphic novels. Graphic novel number 1 will be in the first half of the season, a self-contained story with Dr. Ramsey turning into Bloodwork. We go to Crisis for an interlude, and then in the back half, a completely self-contained story. That's graphic novel number 2 with a second big bad.
And we're not allowed to ask about the second big bad, right?
No.
You guys have to wait and see.
Tune in.
Tune in. Well, the interesting thing that you kind of see in the trailer is that Dr. Rosa says that he's exploring a cure for death, no one has to die, and obviously Barry and Iris are dealing with a death themselves, the loss of Nora. So does that kind of create a connection or kind of common ground between them that we haven't seen before? I don't know, Grant and Candace.
Between
Dr. Rosa and Barry?
I don't know that that's necessarily, I think it's more, the Monitor shows up at the end of our first episode and says, you know, the universe is in danger and the only way to save it is for Barry Allen to sacrifice himself. So I think kind of our connection is more our impending demise.
No big deal, the Flash is supposed to die. It's great. We all like that. We don't want to have more seasons.
They can keep making the show without me.
Yeah, guys, right?
They could.
No.
But would not want to.
Nor would I want you to.
Well, Carlos, let's start with you since you're sort of close to me.
Okay.
It'll be a gentle question, I promise.
Great.
How is Cisco adjusting to life without his powers?
Swimmingly.
Yeah?
Yeah, he is loving it. At the start of season 6, we find Cisco pretty much finding the normality that he was aching for in season 5. You know, obviously there were some bumps in the road in terms of his figuring out what it was that he wanted, was sort of how he didn't feel complete. And obviously he made a very difficult decision to take that cure. And so we'll see at the top of season 6, like the rewards that he's reaping in terms of like being able to balance his work life and his personal life, because I feel like that's something that was really big for him. And so now he's got his relationship with Camilla that he's working on, and then, you know, obviously in the Star Labs thing or whatever.
Well, how does he fit into Star Labs now? What's the kind of team dynamic?
You know, he's lending his human powers, not, you know, since he doesn't have his metahuman powers now, he's lending his, you know, his expertise in virtually all things. He's kind of an impossible character, actually. He's like a hacker, and he also like sews, like a, you know what I mean? Like, he can do anything. So pretty much more of that anything doing is what he's going to be doing.
That's good. I like it. I like it. Candice, we saw Iris. Yes. Give it up again. We saw Iris refocusing her efforts and her kind of focus towards journalism last season. So how are we going to see that evolve this season?
A lot more this season, which I'm really excited about. I feel like it's been a long time coming.
Definitely.
Yeah, 6 years is a long time. But Eric is really excited about it. I feel like he loves this character as much as I do. I think he wants to see it as much as I do. We're finally going to see the Iris West Allen that we know from the comics. This ace reporter, she's building up the Citizen. This season we're going to see her hire some new employees. It's going to be its own little contained set with its own storylines. I'm really excited about it. I didn't want this show to ever end without us seeing the iconic Iris West that we know and love from the comic book. So I'm really eager to get into that.
Well, tell us more about the Citizen and some of these employees and people who will be kind of surrounding her this year.
What can I say? Eric, you go.
Let's just say her new employees will appear very soon.
Very soon. Also, we know that Camilla kind of works for Iris. So we'll see a lot more Camilla in the office. Disney's down the hall.
We're neighbors.
There's going to be a lot of Team Flash popping by the office. It's really cool. We started to shoot scenes in there. It just feels right. Yeah. It feels real right. I'm really excited about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so great. What can you both, Grant and Candice, say about Iris and Barry's relationship this season? Because obviously, having gone through this trauma, they must both be reeling. How do they deal with that as a couple and individually?
It does. I think we're both kind of on dealing with it in different ways when we come back. We're kind of on our own islands, I think, dealing with it in our own way. And Barry is kind of doing what he always does and pushes it to the side, kind of tries to, no pun intended, bury it. And it's just focusing on the good that he can do for Central City. Are you leaving? I can't. So yeah, Barry is trying to distract himself with what he can do to help, for how he can help the team, how he can help the city. And then I think Iris is kind of the one that, you know...
Tell us, Candice. You tell us.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we need to be on the same page to...
Yeah, very early on in the season, it picks up almost 10 seconds after, the finale of last season. So it's still very fresh and raw, the grief that Barry and Iris are going through, and they're trying to move past it, but I think we see very early on in episode 1 that, maybe they're not dealing with it in the best of ways, and that they come together and realize that they really have to look at this and grieve as a team, as a couple, as a married couple. It's the only way they're going to get through it and move forward and, get back to being Team Flash.
Yeah, I take it. That's great. Tom.
Yeah.
I hear that we're meeting a new Wells this year. What can you tell us about?
Should we have a new Wells? Alright, well, we have to come up with something in a hurry. Yeah, okay.
I'm on it.
Nothing we can do. Well, it's easy. We can do that. Yes, go on.
Yes.
Back to the question.
That is the question. What can you tell us about it? What do we need to know about this new version?
I think this newest edition of Wells will be bit of a, what was the word? Sensual. What was the word?
Sensual.
I'm making them say it. What is it, guys?
Sensual.
Thank you.
But you have to say it like...
It'll be a bit of an adventurer, swashbuckler, live a life of intrigue, deceit, and what is it?
Sensuality.
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 I can get them to say sensual or sensuality more than 10 times. That would be a lot.
We should have
Sensuality.
What is it?
Sensual.
What is it?
Essential.
Sorry? Thank you. Thank you.
No accent. accent this time around?
I promise nothing. You guys have to watch the show and see what happens.
He's
We
doing an
kind of like
accent.
a wing it as we go.
He's gonna do an accent.
I'm not going to do an accent. Maybe it'll be like me.
Maybe it'll be like this. You'll just have to tune in.
Please do it just like that.
Thank you very much.
Danielle, what can we expect? Yes. What can we expect for both Caitlin and Killer Frost this year?
Killer Frost. I'm really excited. I feel like last season was such a great season of really exploring Caitlin and Killer Frost's relationship, and I think this year we've really set it up to see a lot more of Killer Frost. So we're going to get to see Killer Frost in Star Labs and how helpful or not she is. We're going to see, you know, her get out a little bit and try and live a life and see how that goes.
I like that.
Thanks, me too.
Yeah, sounds fun. The season 5 finale saw Ralph picking up a case named Devon, which should be familiar to some comic book fans.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the case that he's working on and the person at the center of that case in this season?
Well, we're going to pick up and Ralph is going to be having investigated that file a little bit, and we're going to follow his journey on what will eventually lead us to Sue and see what happens. I don't know how much I can say about this.
That's it.
Yeah, I think I said it, right?
That's literally it.
Yeah.
That's all you got. But I hear that
Kate Blanchett's playing Sue.
But I hear that we're also going to learn a bit more about his personal life in general. There might be some other people close to him.
Yeah, we're going to dig into his family a little bit and where he came from and why he is the way he is. Which is a whole can of worms in itself anyway. But we're going to get into that. I'm really excited for that.
That sounds nice. I like it. That's good. So Eric Thorne escaped at the end of last season. Are we going to see him again anytime soon? What's the deal? What's the status on it?
Well, Thawne is in the wind. We love him. Not sure if we'll see him immediately, but at some
He
point.
casts a very long shadow. And nobody knows when that shadow is going to appear or not.
That's accurate.
We've got other stories to tell until the shadow returns.
But I hear that they're not the only characters that Tom might be playing this season.
Go, Eric.
No, they're not. As part of, and I guess it's time to reveal it, as part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, not only will Tom be playing the two characters that we've heard here, but he will also be playing Pariah as part of the crossover. Just so that folks who don't know, in the original miniseries, it's Pariah who is very much integral to unleashing the Anti-Monitor onto our multiverse, which then more bad things happen. So for Tom to play such a pivotal character, it not only is exciting, but I think his interpretation that he's going to be bringing to it is going to just tear your guts out, you know, and make you cry. Don't set too high a bar, you know? I have faith in you.
And I have faith in you.
Aww. The secrets of why Tom becomes Pariah are actually part of graphic novel #1 and all lead up to a very, very big twist at the end of the Bloodwork case that launches Crisis.
Does it feel creepier or darker? Is there kind of a shift in tone that you guys have noticed as you've been playing it, or is it?
Oh yes, without
The
question.
cast.
Yes.
Cast. What is the cast?
As I've been talking to the cast, I always use the same thing, and I say, this is the season of thrills and chills. And I always say chill with air quotes.
It has felt like so far, we're only, I've read 3 episodes thus far, so I don't know too far beyond that, but it does feel like more adult already, like grown up in a way. It feels like the show is kind of matured almost, I don't know, so I can feel it getting darker. I can feel us going down that road this year for sure.
but still keeping the humor.
Oh,
we all know.
of course. We're still Flash.
Yeah, we're still the Flash. It's not a total course correct or anything because it wasn't broken.
Eric, we haven't seen Wally for a while, and obviously, and we haven't talked about Joe, who's also here. So what can we kind of tease for the wider West family and what we'll see in this coming season?
I would say, let's bring Wally West back.
I've been saying that.
That seems cool with them, so why don't we do it this season? A couple of episodes and have Kid Flash and Flash fight one of the greatest Flash villains ever.
I'm down.
Tune in.
Let's go to some fan questions. Where are you? Yes.
Nice.
Hi, so my question is, how was it for Grant and Danielle, and are you going to revisit the kisses between Barry and Caitlin, like with Hannibal Bates and with Killer Frost?
What do we mean by revisit? I don't...
Like no one told anyone, are we gonna...
Oh, like it's gotcha. Gotcha. We'll probably keep that between us.
Yeah, it's probably the best.
Between Hannibal Bates and Caitlin. Barry probably doesn't even know that happened.
You're right, he probably doesn't.
Yeah.
We should try and kill
Good
him.
question. Hey.
Hi.
What's up?
What's up? My question is for Grant and Candace. I was wondering what it was like filming the scene in episode 19 when Barry sent Nora to the future and they had that argument in the pipeline.
Was it the big fight?
Yeah.
I had fun.
It was real fun.
It was. I mean, it was Jeff Cassidy directing, he long ago was a camera assistant on our show and part of the family. So, like, he was really pumped about getting to do that scene. We were really pumped about it. We had never fought like that, obviously, on the show. Like, so it was, or in real life for that matter. But it was fun. I mean,
Yeah, we just never have really seen Barry and Iris hash it out, like really go at each other and lay it all on the table. And so I think for us as actors, it was just like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was one of my favorite moments of last season for sure.
Hi, my name is Brooke.
You look great.
You got it. You got this.
I'm sending you the biggest hug. I'm right there with you. I believe in you.
You got it.
I wanted to ask you, Danielle, is there anything you find extraordinary that someone else might just find ordinary?
I think you're extraordinary. It clearly took a lot of bravery to stand up here, and I think you're extraordinary. And everybody who takes the chance, that's extraordinary.
I used to pull all-nighters watching the show. Once I just saw episode 1, I was hooked. This question's for Grant. Out of all the seasons so far, which suit was your favorite?
For sure, the one I'm in now. Like last year, it was my favorite suit, but the cowl was kind of a struggle. It was didn't look exactly how I wanted to look, and it was just some learning curves there, and it was some comfort issues. But like is pretty much last year's suit with some tweaks this year, and it's what I loved my first suit too, that Colleen Atwood designed. I thought it was like cool and urban and like vintage looking, and like a cool suit to start with. But what we have now is like, it's really close to what's on the comic book page. I love it. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, Danielle, will you be directing again this season?
I will. I'm very excited.
Danielle and Candace, do either of you remember moments from previous seasons where you thought, wow, this could really inspire some girls watching?
And if so, did you do anything different when preparing to film these scenes?
Good question.
Wow, no pressure. These scenes. I mean, just the pilot. I felt like I was like, this is really cool. I've said this so many times, but it really hit me. Like, I'm playing Iris West Allen. She's iconic in the comic books. I don't look like her. They took a leap of faith on me, and I was just like, this is gonna mean so much to so many young girls who look like me. And so it dawned on me very early that this was gonna be, you know, something not only really important to me, but it was gonna be really important to a lot of people around the globe. So that, I don't know, that's the one for me.
It's not dissimilar. I love getting to play Caitlin, and I love how her intelligence is really celebrated, and I think it's, you know, an unbelievable honor to be an inspiration to young women who come up to me and say they want to be scientists and they want to be doctors just like Caitlin. So I'm grateful.
Here's a general question. What part will Cisco play on Team Flash now that he's not metahuman no more?
I mean, he has superpowers even if he doesn't have superpowers.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, Carlos is a genius too.
Carlos is a genius.
Yeah.
Carlos, what do you think?
Look, man, I'm trying to buy a house, so like. Okay, no, I think we can expect to see Cisco do more of the things we saw him doing in season 1. You know what I mean? Really being behind the console, quarterbacking, that kind of thing. Yeah, so he's definitely taking a more active role within the Cortex, that kind of thing. Yeah. But,
Build some gadgets.
huh?
Build some gadgets.
Build some gadgets? Sure.
Naming some people.
How about a suit or two?
Build some suits? Sure.
Hi, my name is Ben. My family loves watching your show together. You're saying. The question. This is to all cast. What have you learned about yourself while playing your role in the show?
Good question.
Hartley, you wanna go?
Yeah, go down the line from Hartley. No pressure.
Don't take life too seriously. You know, everything comes and goes, and just remember to. Ralph reminds me of that. Reminds me to really enjoy things. And sometimes you just gotta make a fart joke, you know?
A lot of
life. Well, for me, all the time.
I don't think Ralph needed to teach you that.
Come on, I'm trying to answer the question. It's amazing. I'm trying to, no.
I think for me, just to embrace change, growth and change, it's a part of life, and embrace it. And hopefully we're always growing and becoming better people.
I think we as a group try and do our best to proceed from gratitude. We realize we're very fortunate to be here, and I think that applies to so many of us. Sometimes we're looking ahead, but this is a gift. This show is a gift for us, and so it's a nice way to every day remind ourselves that we're so fortunate to have what we have.
I think I kind of touched on it already. For me, like, you know, Barry's optimism has really kind of helped me try to find that in my life. But also just the show itself. I think I'm not a patient person. I never have been. I could never golf ever because like I suck at it and like.
Get to the end of the.
Okay. Anyway, I think the process of making this show too has just like taught me, you know, patience. Like, so yeah.
I feel like all of Team Flash, Iris too, they've all been through so much trauma and loss and tragedy. And I think for me, playing that character and watching these stories play out is really just about the idea that life is so fragile, you know? Tomorrow is never promised. Tell people you love them. Tell them today. Call your mom. That's the biggest thing I take away from this show is love people while you have the chance to love them.
I would say if you're given something, if life gives you something, make it yours. Put your spin on it and nobody can touch it.
Hey.
I would say, having learned this job, because it's tough sometimes, is to treat everyone in your life with compassion, and it will come back to you. I think that's so important, how we interact, not just as a cast, but with the crew, but with everybody involved in the show and in your lives. I found that if you treat others compassionately, good things happen.